This is a City AM Studios production.
Hello and welcome back to Business as Usual, brought to you by Okta with me, Martin Kimber.
And me, Matt Kenyon. Coming up on the podcast, we take you inside a board meeting gone bonkers.
As Britain swelters again, how are businesses around the City of London handling this latest record heatwave?
Plus, we hear from the historian Sir Anthony Seldon on where Keir Starmer ranks in the Prime Ministerial League table. Welcome back to the podcast. We have hunkered down in the coolest room in our building, which is, of course, the windowless studio, to bring you some of the top business stories of the day. And joining us, as ever, is a city sleuther hotter than the pavement outside, Simon Hunt.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
I think you have to. Simon, welcome back. You have been covering a wonderfully named company, Big Technologies. They've had their AGM. It's all gone a bit mad. Is this the most chaotic board meeting you've ever been to?
Yeah, I mean, look, AGMs are not normally the most exciting affairs, usually pretty dull things to attend, but I can comfortably say this is by a mile the wildest board meeting or AGM I've attended in all of my years as a journalist. It was really quite something. It's an AIM-listed company called Big Technologies. To cut a long story short, this is a company that decided last year to oust its founder over allegations of fraud and allegations that the founder forged documents ahead of the firm's IPO a few years ago. We should, of course, say that the founder denies those allegations. And the founder, obviously not especially happy about having been ousted, is now looking for ways to oust the board that ousted her. You can imagine how fiery the AGM was. There was a lot of shouting, a lot of quite terse
So the founder showed
remarks.
up.
The founder showed up along with her daughter and various other sort of ally shareholders, I suppose, who were sort of on her side. But there are also other shareholders who disagree with her. So there were quite a lot of shots fired between the chair of the company and her and various other shareholders as well. At the end of that day, there was a vote on the re-election of several of the board members, and we had the results of that come out on Wednesday. And it seems as though the founder, Murray, has been successful in being able to oust at least one of the four directors she had her sights on, one of them being voted out by a margin of 55%.
So it worked.
It partially worked, but she did vote against basically every motion at the AGM, and the other ones, including the re-election of the other directors, was passed. So she wasn't able to get rid of all of the board, or at least all of the people who were up for re-election. However, in order to hit back at her success and be able to get rid of one of the board members, Big Technologies took this unprecedented step, which I've not seen in an AGM results before, of publishing a separate set of voting results of what the vote would have been had she not participated at the AGM.
Wow, that's proper student politics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows that the particular director in question would have been re-elected, and indeed that the other directors would have been re-elected by a margin of above 90%.
Can I ask a question just about the nature, I suppose, of AGMs? Because I think we brought this up on our very first episode, because we were talking about a very chaotic AGM. Do you think this is the kind of thing that people will look at and think, next time we're going to take our own AGM online?
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, I'd be sad if that were the case, because
we'd miss out on scenes like this, obviously.
This was.
For us.
I'm only sad that I didn't get popcorn ahead of my attending it, but yeah, I mean, I do wonder about that, because there are ways you can control AGM proceedings much more tightly if you do it online. You know, you can choose who to speak, and you can mute people, and
you go full Jackie Weaver.
Very much so, and people can't shout over each other. So maybe it would have been a bit more of an orderly affair if it had happened online, but that would have masqueraded the disorder that was going on in the background.
Well, luckily, producer Joe can still mute us, even though we are here in person. Simon, we've lost a few companies recently which were on the FTSE 100 who've delisted, but one has managed to avoid this fate.
Well, so far, but yes, we've spoken so much. I feel like a bit of a broken record talking about London-listed firms that are being snapped up by bigger US rivals. But there's another firm, a member of the FTSE 100, that a US firm has in its sights. This is a property company called Segro, and it has become much more interesting for investors the past couple of years because it has invested heavily in data centers. And unless you've been living under a rock the past couple of years, you might have noticed that data centers have become quite valuable and quite important to the future of our economy.
Yes.
And so,
given it's a property company, it actually makes sense to pivot into data centers as opposed to that shoe company that did recently.
well, indeed, yeah. It's a little bit more effective of your property company, I think. Yeah. So there's a US firm called Prologis who have made or have been in talks to present a 12.6 billion takeover offer, which Segro have pretty roundly rejected and have said this is very opportunistic. You know, you've just figured out that we're into data centers now ahead of the market. They're effectively alleging that once the market figures out how important they are, actually their share price will appreciate over the next couple of years anyway. So Prologis are just trying to get in there early while the stock is still pretty cheap.
One more thing to talk to you about, Simon. Why is it that the notorious Silicon Valley Bank is back in our pages this week?
Yeah, so Silicon Valley Bank, famously the US bank that collapsed a couple of years back and had to be rescued. In the UK, its UK operations were bought by HSBC for the princely sum of £1 at the time. And we've had the latest results from that arm of Silicon Valley Bank, which was subsequently renamed to HSBC Innovation Bank. And it showed that it paid its parent, HSBC, the global company, a dividend of £135 million, which sounds like a lot, but in the previous year, it issued a $333 million payment. So this is down quite considerably. And as to the reasons why this is the case, it went through a quite considerable restructure where it seems as though something in the region of 100 employees were laid off, or that's at least the extent to which the headcount went down. And so this is it counting the costs of having to do that restructure.
How was it that last year it became so profitable in the first place, I suppose, out of the ashes of such a difficult takeover?
Yes. I mean, there's a few things. Banks, as across the board, were quite profitable last year just because the interest rate environment was favourable for them. But I think also we have to remember that while it sounds cheap that HSBC bought them for £1, actually what they were really doing was taking on the massive debt that company had. And so these dividends, if you like, were a way of HSBC recouping the cost of some of that debt that it had to take on.
Well, Simon, we know that business as usual is debt-free, which is good.
So far.
Yeah.
And it is also all we have time for in your section. So thank you very much for coming in.
I owe you a debt of gratitude for inviting me on.
We're in credit.
Well, don't melt, because coming up after the break, it's really hot. We'll see how London's and Britain's businesses are being affected and bring you the Thursday night drinks weather forecast. Don't go away.
This episode is brought to you by Okta. AI agents are everywhere now, quietly making decisions across organisations. That's great until you stop and think, who's in charge?
If you don't know who an agent is, what it's connected to, or what it's allowed to do, you can't really trust it to act in your interests. That's the bit Okta focuses on. They secure the identity of AI agents, so there's one clear layer of control across the whole system.
Which means every agent has a clear identity, permissions, and a line of accountability, even as things scale.
Risk becomes something you manage, not guess at. Secure every agent, secure any agent. Okta secures AI.
Welcome back. Now, unless you've been living in a nuclear bunker, you'll have noticed that it's really hot. And it looks like the UK is headed for a 40-degree heat day this week, only for the second time ever. And for the first time, it's happening before July. Britain has notoriously poor infrastructure for handling this level of heat. So how are businesses handling these scorching temperatures? Well, I hope slightly better than some parts of our office. To help us figure that out is our retail and property reporter, Felix Armstrong. Felix, how is the city reacting to these temperatures?
Yeah, so we've spoken to a lot of city firms today, and a big number of them say they are encouraging people to work from home this week, partly due to the heat and also due to the travel disruption that is stopping people from coming into work in the first place. So M&G, an investment firm and landlord, said they're encouraging their workers to work from home, as did investment bank Nomura, bank JP Morgan, and the insurance firm Hiscox.
Which is kind of wild because I imagine the aircon's probably better in M&G's office than it is in someone's
Yes.
house.
Probably got about 14 degrees in there, but empty.
Well, basically, all of these firms that we've spoken to, they did add that they think a lot of people are also opting to come in anyway for the AC.
I bet there's a big age split as well. And this is one of those
Yes.
big things in COVID, how you had it was the like sort of younger people sort of on the entry level who were stuck in flat shares who really wanted to come back in, and then the people who'd moved out to the shires really wanted to maintain that flexibility. So I wonder if it's going to be quite a young crowd in the office for the end of this week.
And Nomura told me that they've also imposed a relaxed dress code. So I'm having fun imagining them walking around in sandals and shorts.
I wonder
in
how
their investment
relaxed.
bank.
So the shorts question is a big one. I know we've had a divide in our office. It's like some people wearing shorts, some people are holding firm. I see it as like a line in the sand they must never cross.
The bank holiday was when I allowed it. for
Okay.
me, but
Well,
It's got a good line.
some City AM senior folks have come in more casual dress code. Today, apparently our deputy editor has come in. Our new deputy editor, Charlie Conch, has come suited and booted. So fair enough. But most of the video team have been wearing shorts for quite some time.
Felix, on this note, what do you think will be, I suppose, the medium-term settlement these companies come to? Because this is the second big heat wave we've had this year. It might not be the only time this year we see temperatures go over 40. Like, are we going to see, I suppose, more investment in that aircon? Are we going to see, do you think, just a generalised policy of you don't have to come in? What are you hearing?
yeah, I mean, I do think that this heat like this, as you say, isn't going away, and I think it will make those companies who don't already think about implementing some kind of hybrid work system. So a lot of the consultancy firms, including Deloitte and KPMG, have told me that they already have a very flexible work system. So they basically can't really tell what is driving people not to come in because
This is
they're so
crazy.
flexible.
These big companies have been begging people to come back to the office like 4 days a week and stuff. And now
It's a difficult reverse
and
ferret
now
to
the
make
sun
now.
comes out and they say, no, stay at home. I mean,
Well, I think this is, I know when we talk about work from home and people not working from home or coming into the office, it always has a knock-on effect on hospitality. I think it's going to be so interesting sort of Thursday, Friday nights of this week, because on one hand, you'll have people absolutely like...
just
Sorry.
before we get onto the Thursday night drinks weather forecast, have any pub bosses or any hospitality groups raised any concerns with you?
Not yet the pub bosses, but I have been speaking to Sensormatic, who is the data firm that collects high street footfall data for the British Retail Consortium. And they told me that yesterday, shop visits in London were down 32.4%, which is massive. And I guess that is because of this drop-off in commuting
I've seen there have
traffic.
been a few drinks things which have been mooted, which are now being cancelled. So I wonder actually whether we might see quite empty bars and pubs as well, just because people are closing up early. Could be quite a complicated picture that people are going to have to adapt to.
If you are, here we go, for the business as usual Thursday night drinks weather forecast, if you are thinking of going out for drinks on Thursday, it's hot. It's going to be 31 degrees in the City of London. Wear a hat. Stay indoors.
Felix, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you again in more temperate
Conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And finally, it's not news to anyone that Britain has been absolutely churning through prime ministers of late. We've had 7 in 10 years, and when Keir Starmer steps down in a few weeks' time, there will be 9 living former PMs, which is, of course, a record. But where does the soon-to-be backbench MP for Holborn and St Pancras rank? Well, our politics and economics reporter Mauricio Alencar spoke to the historian Anthony Seldon about exactly this.
So many prime ministers have been weak. Starmer had massive, unimaginable strength potentially when he came to power. 403 MPs. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, the second biggest Labour landslide in history, the third biggest of any party in history, taking over from a demoralised, degraded Conservative Party with barely 100 MPs and with the right split. I mean, come on, what a extraordinary opportunity. It is a fabulously interesting question to know how he blew it so quickly.
Is that a question you're going to write about?
And what does Farage want? I mean, Farage wants to keep Labour split, wants to keep the Conservatives split, and Farage is a supreme tactician. And what he wants is for Ed Miliband to be appointed Chancellor or somebody else on the centre left of the party, for the markets to rebel, for there to be a call for a general election, Labour unable, Burnham unable to hold the government together, a general election from which he will prosper, saying that, look, neither the left wing nor the right wing party have succeeded. I mean, this is so significant because for 14 years we had repeated disappointing prime ministers. I mean, look, I think some of them, I think Rishi Sunak, for example, did much better than people expected, like John Major did. No one accepted at the time, but people accepted in hindsight. But the perception was that they were fighting each other. Labour had this blessed opportunity to come in and say, we're different. But actually, Labour has shown that it's no different. And this is a gift to Farage. So Farage wants them split. And then he comes in and he uses his immense power that they did not use to do what Trump's done. I mean, look, prime ministers are either have the initiative or they don't have the initiative. Most of the time for the last, since 2007, prime ministers have not had the initiative. They've been on the back foot. And they're going to be unpopular either because they're doing stuff or because they're not doing stuff, like the leader of any organization. So you better to be popular because you're doing stuff rather than not doing stuff like, I mean, that was Starmer's undoing, wasn't all those U-turns.
I wonder
weakness.
whether you're already starting to write the first chapters of Sir
Yeah,
Keir Starmer's biography.
I don't want to write it. I mean, there have been Baldwin's book, Pogrund, Maguire. I honestly couldn't think of anything I'd like to do less than go through the intricacies of the NEC and all those micro decisions. There's only one really important question that interests me, rather like with the Liz Truss book, subtitle How Not to Be Prime Minister. How did that happen? How could she have been the shortest on 49 days Prime Minister in British history? And the question for Starmer is, how can you explode? Again, unprecedented in British history. How do you explode that? I mean, that is the historical question. I don't want to, go through everything that he did because I don't have the appetite. I mean, I wouldn't read it.
Do you know what? If it were me, I would just quit as an MP if I was Keir Starmer.
Oh, yeah, I'd be out. I'd do the David Cameron thing and be calling a by-election within a few weeks. I think it's quite admirable. You saw, I know Rishi Sunak still is, though I wonder if that's because he still holds out some hope of potentially coming back. Still a young guy.
I forgot Sunak was still an MP. He's working at Goldman Sachs. Goodness knows
Well,
where
yeah,
else.
he's got quite a lot of advisory roles. There were rumours, though, back in the day, pretty substantiated rumours that he was thinking of going to Silicon Valley. It's now been 2 years and he hasn't. I suppose as well, Theresa May hung on for a few years.
Yeah,
quite a few years. She only stepped down in 2024.
I have a big soft spot for her. She really exemplified service, I think.
Well, I think history is going to view her more kindly than others.
I totally agree. However, that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much for listening to Business as Usual, brought to you by Okta.
Don't forget to subscribe to City AM's daily and weekly newsletters, and of course, don't forget to download our free app.
Those puzzles haven't gone anywhere. They still need doing, so remember to check that out. We'll be back in your podcast feeds tomorrow at 6 a.m, but for now, goodbye.
Goodbye.